So you're with the narcissist, you were left alone, they dumped you, they moved on to the next person, you're left with a lot of questions, wondering what the hell just happened, and you're like, I don't know what to do. How do I actually get closure from a narcissist? Well, I want to welcome you to the video today. My name is Ben Taylor. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day clarity challenge. Thing is, the hard reality is you're not going to get closure from the narcissist in your life. It's not going to happen. This is my attempt to be able to help you walk through a couple of those steps to be able to give you some closure, but ultimately that closure is your choice on a day-to-day basis. I want to give you 6 things to help you gain closure today. Okay, so jumping right in, first one is radical acceptance. Okay, radical acceptance is getting clear about the truth of the situation. These are the facts that actually happened. And what that does is it actually starts to break down the false narrative that you've been believing, that you've been telling people, that you've been experiencing. It breaks that down in your mind, and you have to let go of the fantasy. You have to let go of the possibility, the maybe, the hope, the potential of that relationship and view it just with the facts. What are the facts of the situation? Well, as you step back and you start to look at that relationship, you need to understand the fact of the matter is they didn't care. They didn't care about you because they left. They didn't care about you because they didn't try. They didn't care about you because they didn't try to even work on themselves and didn't have that self-love for themselves to grow, progress, and develop. And you're like, but they did care. They showed me this. They showed me this. How did they demonstrate that love? How did they show up on a day-to-day basis to invest in you and invest in a relationship? But they went to the next person and they became completely different. They didn't change because they haven't been investing in themselves and they haven't been investing in another person, putting their needs over themselves. It's all just another manipulation. It's all just another thing. So as you learn about it, you have to let go of the fantasy of what was. The hard thing is, like, you will still re-traumatize yourself by being in contact with that other person. You'll still stay in the fog, the fear, the obligation, the guilt. You'll still stay in the fog of that relationship by interacting with that other person, by being in contact, by watching them on social media, all that kind of stuff. You have to accept they didn't care, they left. Harsh reality. Hopefully you stick past this one point, okay? But you need to understand that. That is the crux of it starting off. Number 2, and then you start getting to the place of narcissism fire hydrant. Okay, that's my phrase for it. Nobody else has that. Okay, you start drinking from the fire hydrant of narcissism. Okay, what this is you jump in of like a learning obsession of like learning about all different things about narcissists, of what actually happened. Someone said narcissism, you looked it up, you're like, oh my gosh, 3 hours later you've been reading and learning all this stuff and you're like, this clicks. Okay, once you understand, that's normal. Because you've gone through all of this, you've gone through a crazy relationship, they've left, they've done whatever, and now you're left with a lot of questions, a lot of answers, and you've jumped in, and this is giant like obsession of like, let me learn everything about it, okay? I want you to first understand, like, that's totally fine, and it's totally okay. Sometimes people are in that, and they start beating themselves up of like, now I'm obsessed about this. Like, it's okay. It will pass. As this happens, I want you to dive in, learn all that you can. Okay, give yourself permission to be like, hey, it's okay for me to spend time learning about this. Long term, you're not going to be lost in this. It's not going to be something that you will stay stuck learning about this for the rest of your life. You come out of it. Okay, you come out of it with your mindset and your thought process, but it does help to dive in and be like, this stuff actually makes sense. Okay, during this time of learning and understanding all this stuff, the caution I would say is be safe and learn all this stuff without contacting, without looking at the narcissist in your life, without looking at that person now they moved on, because that's not going to help you. Okay, the radical acceptance, they didn't care. Now you're learning. Don't go back and attack them. Don't go looking for answers, all that kind of stuff. You're not going to get answers, okay? Focus on you. You are the only person that can change, heal, grow, and develop. And you're the only one that's showing up for you, okay? Number 3, process all the why questions. You're going to have tons of questions that are going to affect you. Why didn't I see this? Like, how could I have not understood this? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, all these things that happen of like, why did this happen? Okay, you're going to have to get with different people to help figure some of these questions out. But then you're also going to dive in and try to understand that, hey, you couldn't have seen some of these things because you didn't have the education and the knowledge at that point to see them. I normally say you don't yell at yourself when you're 4 years old being like, why didn't I understand algebra at that time? Well, because you didn't have the education, knowledge, or maturity to be there. Same thing with narcissism. You weren't aware of some of the shit that they just put you through. Now that you see it, you can see it. Okay, but don't judge the past based on knowledge you have in the present. Okay, so please be careful about that. Thing you have to understand with those why questions, you didn't compel them. You didn't make them go out and cheat. You didn't force them to hurt you. You didn't tell them to yell at you. You didn't say, I would love you to abuse me. Those were not things that you made them do. As much as what they're going to tell you, as much as what it's going to feel, you did not cause that. And you'll start to get to the place of processing those questions to realize that you did not compel them to do that, and the abuse was not your fault at all. The abuse was not your fault. You didn't cause that. Okay? That came from that person, their own decisions to treat you that way. Number 4, I labeled as pain acceptance. This is the part where people run away from. So stick with me. Okay? You have to bring in from that radical acceptance the truth. As you start to learn about all these things, as you start to process all the questions, there's going to be a lot of stuff bubbling up inside. There's going to be different pain, of different feelings, of different emotions, and you got to pull those out and you got to compare them of what's going on with the facts and with the truth of the situation, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be fun. It's going to suck, okay? Like, it's just going to suck. Let's just say, hey, the pain is going to suck. But the thing you have to understand is the more you want to run away from the pain, the less you'll actually heal. Think of it in regards to, hey, you're doing something and you break your leg, and you go to the hospital and you're like, nah, I don't need it. I'm good. Like, it just hurts. Just give me some pain pills. We'll go. And you start walking on it and you're like, hey, it's fine. And the leg sets itself. The problem is it sets itself about 2 inches too short. So as you're walking around, you're hobbling around, you're wondering, man, my leg is healed and I'm doing much better, but why am I still limping? Well, the reason why is because you didn't actually heal the proper way. You didn't actually heal effectively. So you have to go back in, they have to re-break the leg, and they have to set it correctly. This is what happens a lot of times. They get out of a relationship and people keep moving on, avoiding the pain. And as a result, they cause more long-term pain and less aspect of true healing. What this means is you have to come to terms. You have to process your triggers. You have to deal with the tools to be able to work with those triggers, to be able to reduce what they do, to be able to get rid of them completely, and to be able to say, hey, these triggers no longer control me. I choose how I want to respond to them. And you need those tools to be able to help you in that. Triggers are an opportunity for healing. The more triggers you have, the more opportunity you have for different aspects of healing to help you continue to grow, heal, and change. So dive into those. Those are very helpful to be able as a guide of what you need to work on. Number 5, closure control. Closure comes from you, nobody else. You're never going to get closure from the narcissist. Even what I'm doing here is an attempt to give you a guide and help you in your closure, but I still can't give that to you 100%. Because a lot of times when people want closure, what they really, really want is they want the other person to admit what they've actually done. They want the other person to own up for how they've hurt or how they've discarded or how they've cheated or whatever it might be. They want the other person to own up to the facts of what they actually did. The thing is, dealing with a toxic person, dealing with a narcissist, you're not going to get that. They're not going to tell you that. That's where you have to understand the radical acceptance, the pain acceptance, processing all this, and understand, hey, I need to actually live in the truth that I know. Regardless if this person says that they did what they did. I need to live in the truth that I know, that I experienced, that I went through, that I have the text messages, I have the pictures, I have the understanding, I have the knowledge of what actually happened. Closure ultimately comes from you, nobody else. Number 6, last but not least, be honest with yourself. Be truthful to you. It's so easy to hide those feelings, the pain, the frustration, and it's so easy to run from those. Be truthful about your situation, about your feelings, about your emotions, about your triggers, about what's going on. Be truthful to yourself. And that's where you start to highlight what you need to focus on. and what you need to grow in, of what you need to accelerate, of I need to focus in this area, I need someone to help me like grow in this area, I need to set up vision and values of the direction I'm gonna go, I need to work on my boundaries so that I don't put myself in that position again. All these different things. Be honest about where you are. That's the difference between you and a toxic person, is you can identify, this is where I am. It's awful. I hate where I am. I want to be over here. But you can identify that, and as a result, you can build a plan to be able to get to where you need to be. Living who you are authentically and not running away from the things that you see that are hurt or that feel broken or they're not understood, and saying, hey, I'm going to attack those and I'm going to work on those on a day-to-day basis to heal, grow, change, and develop. So hopefully you can see with those 6 things to help you gain closure. If you want more training, if you want more help in getting closure, in helping find yourself, I want you to go to claritychallenge.net. It's a 45-day intensive challenge. It is a challenge to be able to log in for 45 days and work on yourself. But you've been called to have the investment on you. Invest in you to work on your healing, to work on your closure on a day-to-day basis. Go to claritychallenge.net to be able to sign up for more.